Good morning, viewers. It is the August 18th, and this is the day, this is the show, the mid morning show. Again, welcome to our Farmers Media where we connect, learn, and grow. Today, we are going to talk about soil erosion. But before I delve into our topic for today, I hope you guys had an amazing week, had an amazing sessions, and I hope you are still there. You are continuing watching us because we are still live on YouTube at Farmers Media, on Facebook at Farmers Media, on our website at www.farmersmedia.com. Make sure you click on our website and learn more about what we do as a Farmers Media, and make sure you are going to subscribe on our YouTube channel and follow us on our Facebook channel. So, again, this is the mid-morning show where we connect, learn, and grow. This is the one and only show that takes us to the deep understanding of what really fuels our farms. So, back to the topic of the day. What do you understand by soil erosion? I know it's a common term. It is something that we are familiar with. We've heard about soil erosion from different occurrences, different places, even in school. We started learning about soil erosion for those who went to school. Because not all farmers went to school, but of course, if you are a farmer, you understand this term of soil erosion. All farmers outside there know what soil erosion is and how dangerous it affects the environment and also them as the farmers and also their crops. So, as we delve deeper into soil erosion, we understood that soil erosion refers to the process which the top layer of soil is removed and transported from one place to another by natural force such as water, wind, or human activities. Soil erosion can be caused by natural forces also. You find that a natural source can be wind, water, or also human activities can also do that. For example, if there is a lot of rain, it is raining heavily maybe in a particular region, let's say Trans Nzoia. It is raining heavily in Trans Nzoia. Of course, there will be soil erosion because the water will come in a force, in a certain force that it wipes the top layer of the soil and then carries it to another area. We find that in different places, you see that the soil is unequal, the land is unequal. That is as a result of soil erosion. You find somewhere there is a lot of soil piled in one place, and in another areas there is no soil at all. You find that it is very hard, it is only composed of stones and other particles. So that's as a result of soil erosion. Soil erosion tends to carry away everything on the top of the soil, be it the nutrients that you planted for your plants, be it the plants. For example, when water comes with certain force, maybe to your farm, it will ensure that it carries away everything that is in that farm, all the hard work that you have done in that farm. You've measured your pH, you've applied fertilizers to that piece of land, you've applied enough water, you've ensured that it is nutritious, like the soil contains enough nutrients and also the living organisms are available, the biodiversity is there. So after you ensure that, then there is soil erosion. Soil erosion can wipe away all your hard work, everything you've worked hard for. So today is a crucial topic. It's a topic that should be really taken serious about, because soil erosion is not something that is merely simple. It is something that is affecting people all over the world, and so that's why today we come here to talk about soil erosion. So you will find that also human activities can cause soil erosion. People practice deforestation in various parts of the country. They need these trees for various purposes. They need them for building their houses. They need them for cooking. They need these trees for various activities. But why do you do this? Why do you allow yourself to be affected by soil erosion? Human activities can be very dangerous. It can affect many people at large. That's why you find a lot of areas where they don't have trees, they have cut down all the trees. It is affected by soil erosion mostly because it is easier for droughts to happen in such kind of areas, and through that they are able to, when it rains maybe once in a while, it wipes away everything that is in that land, including the soil itself. So that's why you find that the land is very rough. It doesn't have fertile soil, because the fertile soil, the top layer of the soil that is very fertile, that you have worked at for, has been taken away by this water. So these can significantly reduce soil fertility, as I said earlier, and also since the topsoil contains essential nutrients and organic matter vital for plant growth. So the removal of topsoil can decrease agricultural productivity, lead to poor crop yields, and increase the need for fertilizers. Why do you say that? Why do we say that it will increase the need for fertilizers? Farmers tend to apply fertilizers on their land before and after planting. They tend to ensure that they have done all the farming preparations on their land before tilling them, before doing anything. So if you had practiced in deforestation in your farm, you don't have trees around that area, your land is slopey. So it is very easy for you to be affected with this kind of stuff. It is very easy for you to be affected by soil erosion once and for all, because you have applied fertilizers in your farm, but they are carried away by the water or the wind or other human activities. So when that happens, then you will lose a lot. You'll have to buy many fertilizers, and that will cost you a big deal. Because the moment the fertilizers are carried away by the wind, then it will be very hard for you as a farmer to buy other fertilizers each and every time to ensure that your plants are growing well. And as a result of that, you find that crops are not growing really well. Hence, the yields will be very less. There won't be any produce in the yields. So it will be very challenging for a farmer who is facing soil erosion to continue with his or her farming activities. Why is it important for us to address soil erosion on sloping lands? We know sloping lands are particularly susceptible to soil erosion due to force of gravity. And when rain falls on sloped terrain, water moves downhill, carrying with it the topsoil. Of course, when you see that when you are planting your crops on slopy lands, you can easily be affected by soil erosion. First of all, because when it rains heavily, the water will carry away your crops with the soil. You see, you tend to lose a lot. You tend to get a lot of losses since everything is being carried away. And as a farmer, you won't like that. That is why we have to tell you what are these causes of soil erosion and what we should do to prevent soil erosion. We also want to tell you about the importance of planting your crops on the correct land structures. So the steeper the slope, the faster the water flows, of course, and the greater the erosion. If the slope is very steep, then it will be very easier for the water to carry all the soil in that particular soil and transfer them to other areas where there are other soils. So with that, you will lose a lot. So by addressing soil erosion on these terrains, we can maintain soil quality, reduce the risk of landslides, and promote sustainable agricultural activities, ensuring long-term food security. So that is the importance of preventing soil erosion, because through preventing soil erosion, we are trying to ensure that our plants are growing in a way that they are producing quality crops. They are growing in a way that they will be able to provide sustainable food for sustainable agriculture. So through this, we'll be able to sustain ourselves for the longest time. We'll be able to supply food to different kinds of places, and through that, we'll ensure that there is also food security. So now you can go to overview of the challenges posed by sloping terrain in agriculture. But first of all, before I even go, make sure that you are still tuned in. Make sure that you are still sending in your questions, and if you have any concerns, any questions, make sure that you ask them on the comment section, because we are still live on Facebook at Farmers Media. We are still live on YouTube at Farmers Media. And if you want to learn more about us as a Farmers Media, you should go to our website, click on it, and then see what we do. Our website is www.farmersmedia.com. Here, this is where we connect, learn, and grow. We educate you. We connect you with different farmers across the world. We connect with different farmers across different walks of life, because farmers have to have to lift each other. They have to share their successes, they have to share their failures so that they can learn from each other. And through that, you are motivating another farmer. If you tell me that I'm going to visit the farmers and I'm going to do this, I'm going to come and educate farmers about maybe soil erosion, because maybe you're an expert in soil erosion. It will be a good idea for you to come here to educate other farmers, because they will learn a lot about soil erosion. Others don't have knowledge about soil erosion. They would like to learn about soil erosion, and as you come here and educate them, you are creating an image for yourself first of all, and then you're educating farmers, and then you will be as a role model for them, because they will be able to want to know more about what you actually do. And through that, you are also creating connections. So through our farmers, we are going to create opportunities for farmers outside there, and also by educating them, ensuring that they are connected every day, and ensuring that they are learning each and every day. So let's continue with the topic of the day. Now let's go to overview of the challenges posed by sloping terrain in agriculture. So we find that sloping terrains pose a lot of challenges and in agriculture, and one of them is increased water runoff. You know, the faster the water movement can lead to less infiltration, which reduces the amount of water available for crops. So if the water is moving fast in this kind of terrain slopes, you find that they are infiltrating all the water that is available in that soil. There is water infiltrations. So, and through that, they are able to carry all the water to other places, to other parts of the area where it is not really necessary, the water is not really needed. So, when they carry the water in those kind of areas, their plants will lack water, and it will lead to water infiltration, whereby the plants are not able to get enough water to sustain them for as long as they live, or for as long as they are producing their products. And then there is difficulty in machinery use. The uneven terrain makes it challenging to use traditional methods of farming or traditional farming machinery, because it is requiring specialized equipment or manual labor. So it will be very difficult for any machinery to apply in a terrain area where there are slopes, because first of all, it can lose control, because it's a slopy area. It can lose control and then end up destroying everything that you have worked on. It will end up destroying all your crops. So it will be very difficult for you to use machinery. And again, when you think that I can use manual labor, yes, you can use manual labor. That is very good, that is very correct. But you will lose a lot of time. It is time consuming to use manual labor, because as human beings, we are limited, we get tired. You find that when you go to the field, you just work for some minutes and then rest. You will waste a lot of time while harvesting, or while planting, or while doing whatever you're doing in that farm, or while digging. So through using these slopes terrain, it will be very difficult for a farmer to use machinery, and it will inconvenience you in various ways, including wasting your time, including wasting your resources, because you'll be trying to do something that is doing over and over again. And then we have land management issues. Terracing is a common practice to make sloping land more suitable for farming, and can be labor intensive and costly. So it will be very also hard for you as a farmer to manage this kind of land. You'll have to pay a lot of laborers. You'll have to ensure that each and every aspect of that farm is taken care of. And for you to do that, you won't be able to use machinery, because it will make your work easier. Instead, you have to use manual labor. You have to employ laborers. And you know that not all laborers are perfect. Others can do their things. Others can steal from you. Like, it is a lot of work. It is really a lot of work. Others are lazy, or others can make some small mistakes, which will end up making you lose a lot. So when also managing your farm, make sure that you are considering the type of laborers that you're going to employ. If you're employing laborers, employ someone that is capable of doing what you are signing into. Someone who has experience of doing that, so that you will avoid losses, you will avoid unnecessary arguments and unnecessary mistakes. Because mistakes do happen, but if you employ the correct people, they are still disturbing me a little bit. So if you employ the correct people, the people who have experience, who have that motivation and passion about farming activities, then that will make your work easier. And then there is vulnerability to sunlight. There is disturbances, especially during rainy seasons, which can result in landslides, endangering communities and destroying farmlands. You see, that is another challenge. There is vulnerability to landslides because the moment it rains, there is heavy rainfall, and you can't say that it never rains in that area. That's why you are planting those. Things happen, climate changes, weather changes. So anytime you are not near that farm and maybe the weather changes and there is heavy rainfall pouring, then it will be very difficult for you as a farm to control that, because first of all, the slopes will create a landslide. It will affect many people. It will affect people around that area, the farmers around that area. It will affect the community at large. So that will be very bad for you to do if you know very well that that area is vulnerable. It will cause a lot of trouble to yourself, because the moment that affects the community, of course they will come and complain to you. They will tell you to destroy your farm. They will tell you to do anything to stop everything that is happening from happening. You see, so it will be very difficult for you as a farmer. And then we go to types and causes of soil erosions. What really causes soil erosions, and what are the type of soil erosion? Because we also find that soil erosion is just not soil erosion. We don't have one type of soil erosion. Of course, we have different types of soil erosion, and that is where most people confuse, because they may assume that this is not a soil erosion. I only know one type of soil erosion, and this is it. So you tend to confuse yourself. You find the wrong signs and the wrong predictions about soil erosion because you don't know the type of soil erosions. In a way that when you see this affecting your farm and you don't know that this is soil erosion, you only know the signs of one type of soil erosion. So you only believe that when those signs shows, then that is soil erosion. But now I'm going to educate you. I'm going to tell you about different types of soil erosions, and continue commenting and sending in your comments and questions. If you feel that you are not understanding anything, then comment in our Facebook. Make sure that I get what you say and I get what you need me to tell you, or to make you understand even better. So there are type of soil erosion. One of them is water erosion. And in water erosion, it consists of two types of erosion. There is sheet erosion, rill erosion, gully erosion, and wind erosion. So when you start with water erosion, in water erosion, let's start with sheet erosion. This is the most widespread form of erosion. So what comes into your mind when you hear sheet erosion? Of course, a sheet. You know, a sheet, how it is very flat, like very flat. So now let me tell you what sheet erosion is. It occurs when raindrops dislodge soil particles, which are then transported in a thin layer over the land surface by a sheet of flowing water. This type of erosion is hard to notice in its early stages. You see now, sheet erosion, it will be very difficult for one to identify that this is sheet erosion, because in the early stages, it is very difficult for you as a farmer to identify. So you tend to confuse and say that my farm is free from floods, my farm is free from soil erosion, just because you saw a simple sign. But let me tell you, sheet erosion can confuse you as a farmer, because first of all, it is the soil particles are dislodged, and in a way that the water comes and wipes everything, leaving a flat surface. So when you see it, you see that just that it was the water farm passing. It is not any of a big deal. Little did you know that this water, the top layer of the soil has been carried away. So that is another form of water erosion, that is sheet erosion. Now we have rill erosion. As the flow of water gains velocity, it forms tiny channels called rills. You see. So the water velocity flows in a way that in different volumes, in different structures. So when it flows and gains a lot of velocity, it forms a tiny channel called rills. And these rills, if not addressed, can become bigger and cause insignificant loss of topsoil. You see now, if it forms this kind of rills, all the topsoil goes into these rills, and then your soil becomes affected by soil infertility. It becomes affected by the carrying away of nutrients and fertilizers and all the effort that you placed in your farm. So it will be very bad for you as a farmer to ignore this kind of erosion when it happens to your farm, especially sheet erosions, because it is unnoticeable in early stages. That's why I always encourage all the farmers outside there to ensure that they are going to monitor their farm regularly. Look for small signs of pests and diseases. Look for small signs of sheet erosion or rail erosion, so that you'll be able to detect it in early stages before it affects you even further, forming gullies. You know, when sheet erosion happens, it continues, it forms rail, it goes like that until there is a big hole in your farm that you can't be able to control. And the next thing is what? Your plants are collapsing, accidents in the farms. So it is very difficult for farmers to control this. And then we have gully erosion. When rills enlarge, just like I said, due to continued erosion process, they form gullies. That is, I've observed these gullies. They are a lot and very common in our place where I live in Samburu, especially in Baragoi. So in Baragoi, you find that farmers are unable to control this kind of stuff because they lack necessary education of how to control this kind of soil erosion. But if I'm lucky enough, the next time I go back there, I'll be able to educate the farmers. And as I learned that gully erosion is most common in those areas, you find that the communities around that area are affected by gully erosions, whereby these gullies are forming around the village, around the rivers, across the fields, across the farms. So it is very difficult for them to identify on, and also it is very difficult for them to control this kind of stuff. So gully erosion is very dangerous, especially when it rains heavily, because the more it rains, the more the water gains velocity, the more the gullies expand. And through this, they are taking water in huge amounts. So they are expanding. So the more the water is forcing its way through these gullies, the more the gullies expand even further, forming a very deep and steep slopes. So these are large channels that can become too big to be crossed by simple farming equipments. You see, when these forms, for example, in the middle of your farm or in the beginning of your farm, it will be it will be very difficult for you to use even machinery, because they will be able to pass through that if gully erosion forms. It will be very difficult because even for you to go inside your farm and there is a gully, you have to jump through it, or you put a ladder or something, and anytime it can collapse. So it is very dangerous to preserve gullies in your farm. When you see this kind of gullies, I wanted to talk about the problems first and then talk about the solution later, but let me just connect the dots first. Let me tell you more about gully erosion first, so that you won't be able to forget and ignore later when you see a gully forming in your farm. So if you see something that looks like a grave, something like I don't know how to say, like mtaro ina form kwa shamba yako. So when that gully forms in your farm, it extends, it enlarges. The moment the water is forcing its way through, the gullies expand towards your crops. So they tend to swallow your crops after and after. So in a moment also, if you continue like ignoring these gullies in your farm, then you'll have to lose your farm. You lose your farm because that gully can turn into a big dam, can turn into a river, it can turn into different things. So for you to prevent this from happening, you can build gabions inside that gully. Fill the stones. For the people who are from the village who don't understand what the gabions are, you can fill the stones in that type of gully erosion, and also fill another soil so that it can prevent it from enlarging and prevent it from eating your crops and eating your farm. So it is very crucial for you to observe everything that is happening in your farm, including these kind of gullies. Even if they are very tiny and very small, when they are rails, don't ignore them. Because rails, the more we always say that in Swahili, pole pole Yakobe hufikisha mbali. So it is the way the tortoise moves slowly. You will never understand how it arrives to its destination, because it is moving slowly and slowly and slowly. But finally it will arrive to its destination, and you'll never judge a tortoise because it goes very fast. It goes very far away. The more it moves slowly, the more it is gaining pace. So when you see reels in your farm, don't ignore. They are just like the tortoise. The more you leave them, the more they are moving even further. And in no time it becomes a gully. In no time it becomes a dam or a huge river or something like that. In no time you have lost your farm. You see, we don't need regrets as farmers. We have to be keen on and observing each and everything that is happening in your farm. So make sure you are observing this kind of thing from you're preventing this from happening to your farm. The more you identify the reals, even if you can't be able to detect the sheet erosion from happening, you don't have that, and like you don't have that knowledge of detecting sheet erosion, because it can confuse you as a farmer. Yes, and I understand that, but after seeing the rails, then make sure you are doing something about it. Fill those rails with soil and stone to prevent further destruction. And then we have wind erosion. This type occurs when loose, dry, and bare soil is blown away by the wind. This is whereby there is always a soil that is very loose in your farm. So it is prevalent in arid and semi-arid regions where vegetation cover is sparse. Just like I said earlier, that our area is prone to this gully erosion and also wind erosion. You find that the soil in those kind of areas, in semi-arid and arid areas, are affected by wind erosion, mostly because, first of all, trees are not enough in that area in an extent that they can hold the soil together. You find that there are loose particles everywhere. That is where when you go to Samburu, you find that the stones are very many compared to the soil, because the soil between those stones have been carried away by the water. They have been carried away to various places to an extent that it is leaving stones alone, and it will be very difficult for people to construct roads in that particular area, because the soil is not soft, it is very hard. All the soil has been wiped away, remaining the hard stones. So wind tends to take away these loose particles, and through that, a lot of soil is lost to various places, to places where it is not even necessary to take soil there. So wind erosion is another common type of erosion in semi-arid and arid areas. So it will be very difficult. I know a lot of you will be able to accept this, but wind erosion occurs very fast in a way that you can't even notice it, because wind comes in, like there is a strong wind, there is a wind that is very weak. So even the weak winds will be able to carry away the soil. So the smaller they carry, the more the destruction they cause to your farm. Even when they carry, because you won't be able to notice, you'll just assume. But the more they carry, you will notice very easily. You will identify it. So be keen on watching out on wind erosion. So we go to factors contributing to soil erosion. What are these factors that contribute to soil erosion? What causes this soil erosion? One of them is rainfall intensity. You find that when there is heavy downpours, it can cause rapid runoff, whereby you find that the water are running very fast, and through that they are carrying a lot of soil with them. So leading to more soil displacement than light, steady rain. So when the rain is light and steady, then your crops will be able to have even time to take in water, to ensure that there is water transportation in various parts of the plant. But if the intensity is high, then the plants won't have even a time to take water, to filtrate water, and transport water to various parts of their bodies. Do plants have bodies? Anyway, I don't think they have bodies, but they have parts. So the energy of raindrops directly hitting the soil can also dislodge soil particles. So if the rain is very heavy, you find that you can look it up. Maybe if it is raining in your area, just try to observe. If the rain is very heavy, just try to observe. You'll see that when it rains in a bare place where there is no trees or something else, when the raindrops hit directly the ground, you'll see that the soil particles are moving up, in a way that it is forming small holes in the soil. That is a result of heavy rains. So when the rain intensity is very high, those small holes form bigger holes. So through that, they are expanding, and in a moment or so, they are already flowing with high water intensity, because the water has stored itself in one place. So the moment that place breaks like this, the water moves very fast with high intensity, and the more the rain continues to rain in high intensities, the more soil is carried away from that particular area. So watch out for these kind signs of soil erosion. And then another factor that is contributing to soil erosion is vegetation cover. So plants and trees protect the soil from absorbing rainwater and reducing the speed of water flow. Of course, there are distractions to these kind of things. If there are trees everywhere, it will be difficult for water to pass everywhere, and also the grass, they can prevent water from flowing to further areas. So they also shield the soil from direct raindrop impact. Just like I said, when it rains heavily, the raindrops are hitting the ground directly, and through that they are able to form holes all over the soil, and through that there is high water running intensity in no time. So areas with little or no vegetation are more susceptible to erosion. You find that if the area is very bare, for example, somewhere that deforestation has occurred. By the way, maybe you don't understand what deforestation is. Deforestation is whereby the farmers are cutting down trees without replacing them. So deforestation is cutting down of trees without replacing them. So it is very sad for us to do that, because even our late Professor Wangari Maathai did her best to ensure that there is no soil erosion happening by continuing planting trees. So I'll urge all the farmers to practice tree planting, because it is very beneficial in various ways. Tree planting not only prevents soil erosion, but also ensures that you have shade as a farmer. Sometimes you have worked so hard, you are in your farm and you don't know what to do. The sun is shining brightly, and you find that the sun is very hot. Today is very hot, and you don't know what to do. You don't want to continue digging. So with trees, you will have shade, even for your animals. For a farmer who practices agroforestry, the animals get shade, she gets shades, and also you get other benefits from the trees themselves. Because first of all, they provide, you can get back from the trees. You can use a lot of things out of the trees. People in our area use trees for various purposes, including the acacia trees. Acacia trees, they grow themselves, but I've never heard if there is a seed for planting acacia trees. I just know that they are growing in the forest freely. But if something is growing in the forest freely, then you have no right to go cut them down, because if you are not the one who planted them, then why do you go and cut them down if they are of no use to you? Even if they are of use, at least cut them down and replace them. Through that, we'll be able to curb deforestation. And as I said earlier, trees are very important to human life. First of all, they are also providing fresh air for you. Trees bring oxygen, like they are aerating that environment where they are. Have you ever sat in a park and where there is a lot of trees, and you just lie under the tree? You see that feeling you feel when you're lying under the tree in the park. It is a very nice feeling. You feel you are refreshed. You're feeling so nice. You don't want to wake up from there. That is another importance. So if you want to relax, then plant trees. Trees are very nice. You will prevent soil erosion from happening. And then, so you have to plant vegetation cover. I have said about trees. You can also have an option of planting grass. There are grass that are planted that can prevent soil erosion. You can see that where there is a lot of grass, and you find when it rains, you find that where there is grass, there is water there. Like, it is very difficult for water to pass through those kind of grass. They just they store water in that grass, and in no time the grass are able to absorb all the water from the soil, so the soil remains dry. So when you plant such kind of cover crops such as grass, it will be very nice for you. It will be very easy for you to control soil erosion. because it will help you from it will prevent the water from continuing running with high intensity. There is blockage, so through that they are blocking that water, they are blocking soil particles from being carried away to other areas. And then there is soil type. Sandy soils which have larger particles are more prone to wind erosion. Of course, what do you expect if you have sandy soil in your area? You will find that there is a lot of soil erosion. And then you also find that clay soils, which are more cohesive, tend to be more susceptible to water erosion. So you find that between soil erosion and sandy soil, which are easier, which are easy to be affected by soil erosion. So sandy soils are very easily affected by soil erosion. I know that, first of all, because those large particles, they have large particles. The stones, the soil itself has large particles, so it will be very easier for water to enter between those large particles and then carry them away. I can give an example of a river. Baragoi River, it contains of sandy soil, and you find that most of the time the particles are carried away by the water. You find that one place has a large amount of soil, another place doesn't have soil completely. So that is as a result of water erosion. But as for clay soil, if you have clay soil is not very easy for soil erosion to affect clay soils, because clay soils are very susceptible to these kind of things, to water, because the more the water is trying to carry this soil away, the softer the soil. So the soil is in a slimy position. I think most of you have seen clay soil and have witnessed what happens when it rains. So I know a lot of you fall during the rain. That's as a result of clay soil. Clay soil can make someone fall. I've fallen many times when it rained because of these kind of soils. They are very slidey. It is very easy for you to slide during rainy seasons in these kind of soils, and also they are able to stick in your shoes. It is very irritating because you find that like umioga, you look nice. You are going to church. First of all, during rainy season, and you are going to church, and your place has a clay soil. It is always difficult for people to cope with it, because maybe you've worn a white shoes. But I'll advise that don't ever wear white shoes when it is raining, especially in those areas with clay soil, because you'll have a hard time while washing those shoes. They will stick in that soil, and I don't even want to imagine how I fell down in the middle of the town and everybody was laughing. Like, that was my most embarrassing moment, because I fell in town when it was raining, and that's as a result of that clay soil. But clay soil, they are not carried away by the water, because they are sticky. It will be very difficult for the water to carry away the soil. So they will remain in the same position for some time. And then we have land use practices and sustainable farming practices, such as deforestation, overgrazing, and contour plowing can make the soil more vulnerable to erosion. So you have to have proper land management, because it can play a very, very significant role in preventing soil erosion. So when you want to manage your land, make sure that you are managing your land properly. Manage it in a way that nothing can shake it, nothing can give it a hard time, or nothing can create challenges for you as a farmer. So make sure you are planting trees in that piece of land. Ensure that you are planting cover crops. Even if you can't plant both of them, then practice one of them. There are other type of cover crops that you can plant in your land to prevent soil erosion. Guys, we are still live on Facebook at Farmers Media, on YouTube at Farmers Media, and make sure you click on our website at www.farmersmedia.com. Again, this is our Farmers Media, where we connect, learn, and grow. I'll take a short break and I'll be back so that we will continue with the benefits of soil erosion control. Tune in and make sure that you are still there.
Irrigation is a type of micro-irrigation system that has potential to save water and nutrients by allowing water to drip slowly to the roots of the plants, either from above the soil surface or buried below the surface. The goal is to place water directly into the root zone and minimize evaporation. This system is very efficient because it delivers water directly to the plant roots, reducing water waste. It's often used in arid regions or during periods of water shortage, but it's also used in more temperate climates for its efficient and conservation benefits. Common uses include vegetable gardens, flower beds, trees, shrubs, and agroforests. It can be set up for both small-scale home gardens and large-scale agricultural operations. The system requires a water source, a method to distribute the water, usually tubes and hoses, and emitters which control the amount of water delivered.
Welcome, dear viewers. Welcome to our Farmers Media, where we connect, learn, and grow. We are still talking about soil erosion and on sloping lands, and I'm so excited that I'm talking about this topic to all of you, because I know a lot of people outside there are still interested on learning more about soil erosion, and there is nothing that makes me happy than educating people, and there is nothing that makes me happy than seeing people learn from this session. So make sure you are still following us on our social media account. We are live on YouTube at Farmers Media. We are live on Facebook at Farmers Media. And make sure you click onto our website at www.farmersmedia.com. Again, this is a Farmers Media where we connect, learn, and grow. Now, we were continuing about benefits of soil erosion control. And one of them is preservation of soil health. Controlling erosion helps maintain the topsoil, which is rich in nutrients and organic matter. You know, this promotes soil fertility, ensuring a conducive environment for plant growth. We have seen this because after you ensure that there is nothing affecting your soil, your plants will grow well. First of all, because they are getting enough nutrients, the water is getting into their transportation system very well without more problem. There are no gullies, there are no water runoffs that can take away the soil, that can take away the topsoil, which contains nutrients and fertilizers. So through this, you'll be able to preserve the soil health of your soil in general, because they will have enough organisms in the soil, that is the organic matter, which will be able to cause decomposition process and also enhances nitrogen fixing bacteria. So through that, there won't be anything else other than preserving the health of your soil. And then we have improved water quality. Erosion often carries with it sediments, pesticides. When soil erosion occurs, you find that when these water runoffs occurs, it sweeps away everything and disposes to the river sources or water sources. So when it takes these sediments and pesticides, herbicides to the water sources, it will be very difficult for human beings to consume that water, because when they consume this water, you find that human beings are affected by various diseases, waterborne diseases such as cholera, typhoid, and maybe they tend to diarrhea a lot, they vomit, like they get sick, and others die. So by controlling soil erosion, we can improve the quality of water in the river, lakes, and reservoirs. So it will be very good for you as a farmer to also think about other people outside there. Think about what are they drinking, why are they getting sick. Think about the effect of soil erosions on the community at large. Is it a good thing? And if it's not a good thing, then take the measures. Make sure that you are practicing the prevention measures for controlling soil erosion. Then we have enhanced water retention. Soil structures that are well preserved can absorb and retain water better. We all know that plants need water to survive. They need water to ensure that transportation process occurs and also the reproduction process occurs, and for them to continue living, because plants can't also survive without water unless it is cactus. You can say that cactus can survive in water without water for a long period of time. I have never seen cactus that dies during drought period, because in my area there is a lot of cactus, there is a lot of acacia trees. Acacia trees can survive without water for so long, even the cactus, and that is another good thing about those kind of plants, because but I don't see their significance. Firstly, the significance of cactus, but I've seen people making juice out of cactus, a cactus plant, the cactus fruit. And I always wondered. I used to eat cactus fruits also. In our village, people do eat a lot of stuff, funny stuff. So it it enhances water retention, whereby the plants can be able to retain water for so long. They'll be able to consume this water for a while without going dry. So this not only benefits crops by providing consistent moisture, but also aids in groundwater recharge. So the moment the plants are able to retain water, they'll be able to allow water to enter deep into the soil, and they'll be able to retain water for as long as they need. And then we have reduction in infrastructure. So we find that there is damage happening due to soil erosion. A lot of damage has been done to the roads, including the formation of gullies in the road. That is a result of soil erosion. So when formation of gullies happens in the road, it will be very difficult for people to transport their goods and services, because there will be a destruction of gullies. It will take for them a while to move from one place to another to transport their goods and services. So uncontrolled erosion can damage infrastructure like roads, bridges, and buildings, especially when it leads to landslides or when sediments clog drainage systems. So in rivers, there are bridges in different rivers, in various rivers. For those who don't have rivers or who have never seen rivers, because I know there are other people who have never seen rivers. That is for the farmers, for the people who are not farmers and they are watching right now. The cool kids, the people who live in urban centers and they have never gone to Ushago. Rivers, there is clogging that usually happens in the rivers, and you find that water is concentrated in one area. So the more it concentrates in that area, the more the particles are clogging the water. So they move and clog one place. It becomes a dam, or it becomes something huge. So it can affect communities in different ways, because the more it expands, the more the corners of it continue eating away the community land. So it will be very difficult for people to even construct their buildings there, because anytime, any moment, the water will continue eating away that land, and also resulting to the building collapsing. So that is a result of soil erosion. We have heard about many accidents that has happened throughout this year, from last year, and we have heard that how many buildings have been destroyed by water sources, by floods. That is as a result of soil erosion. So we also find that bridges are being destroyed by water. They are being destroyed in a way that the water is eating away the soil that is preventing the bridge from collapsing. Now the support system. We always say that for a house to stand, there must be a foundation, and the foundation is the ground. So the ground where the bridge stands tends to get eaten away by the water. Now that is water erosion. The water comes in a force that it carries everything that is supporting that bridge. And in no time, even if the car passes there, you find that the bridge collapses. We have seen many bridges collapse in various parts of the world. Also in Kenya, we have seen bridges collapse. And then we have reduction in infrastructure. We have said about that. And then we have biodiversity conservation. Nowadays, I find it difficult to pronounce some words. I don't know why. So, biodiversity conservation, by preventing soil erosion, we can help maintain habitats for various microorganisms. plants and animals that depend on healthy soils for their survivals. You know, there are animals that are depending for these for various organisms or for soil health, for them to continue living, for them to continue obtaining quality products out of them. So we can also help maintain habitats for various microorganisms. We know that inside the soil there are very many microorganisms that are living. There are very many. Like you won't even imagine a lot of organisms are living in the soil, because I've dug many organisms out of the soil, including those white wadudu. I don't know how they are called, but the white ones. They are usually found in areas where the cows mostly live, or the goats, or the sheep. And when you dig out, you find that they have these white wadudu. I don't know how white insects. I think that is a type of a beneficial insect, because when they die and rot, they provide fertility to the soil. So for such kind of organisms that are very important to us as farmers, that are very important to our plants, it is very important for us to ensure that they are not undergoing soil erosion. They are not experiencing soil erosion in any way. And then you have economic benefits. Healthy soils lead to higher agricultural productivity. So additionally, by controlling soil erosion, we can reduce the cost associated with treating polluted water, repairing infrastructure, or replacing the lost soil. So you find that farmers are really struggling outside there due to these effects. My father used to struggle a lot about this also, because I saw him many times trying to construct the way to the farm, because the gully had formed near our farm, across the farm, and a lot of kids, when they are playing there, they tend to fall into those gullies. They injure themselves, and in those gullies there were other dangerous insects or something like scorpions. You can find scorpions in those kind of gullies. You find snakes. So it will be very dangerous for everybody else around that community. It's dangerous for children. It is dangerous for adults. So by ensuring that you're practicing soil erosion, you'll be able to ensure that the economic side yourself, because first of all, the construction cost, you won't be able to construct gabions each and every time, because the gullies are forming over and over again. You won't be able to buy fertilizers over and over again, because the current fertilizers has been swept away by the water or by the wind. So it is important that you are observing your farm regularly to ensure that you identify any sign of erosion. So, and then we have carbon sequestration. Carbon sequestration, soils play a crucial role in capturing and storing carbon. So by preventing erosion, we ensure that soils continue to act as carbon sinks, thereby aiding in climate change mitigation. So we've seen that there has been a lot of discussions going around online, going around the world, also on the TV stations and everywhere, about how farmers are affecting environment. There has been a debate about between farmers and the people in charge of climate, and we find that an environmentalist, we find that climate is affected by very many activities. For a climate to change, there must be something involved. And for a climate to change suddenly, then there must be something involved. For the rain to stop coming for a while, then there is a practice that was not necessary, that was preventing the rain from pouring. So climate change, we find that carbon, we always need nitrogen fixing bacteria that can fix nitrogen into the soil, and also we also need plants that can consume all this carbon to prevent it from going into the air. So when they go to the air, they can cause a lot of damage to the climate. Through preventing this soil erosion from happening, we'll be able to ensure that there is carbon sequestration. And then we have aesthetic value. Erosion can affect landscapes, turning once lush areas into barren patches. So by controlling erosion, the natural beauty of the landscapes can be preserved. You find that there is an area that looks ugly, like in particular. There are areas that are very ugly when you look at them, but when you ask your parents how did this happen, they will always tell you that this area was once beautiful. It had good trees. It had grass. So for you to maintain that your area remains so beautiful, make sure that you're controlling this soil erosion. We all need to have beautiful lands and beautiful places, beautiful villages. And so, in essence, soil erosion control is vital, not just for the present, but as also for future generation, ensuring that they inherit land that's productive, diverse, and resilient. So let's go to terracing. One of the most effective ways. Let's go to ways of controlling soil erosion. So there are different ways of controlling soil erosion, but before I continue, make sure you are still tuned in. Make sure that you are sending comments, you are sending questions. If you feel that you don't understand this, then send it into the comment section. Ask questions, we'll be able to answer. And if I won't be able to answer, then maybe one day, one time, I'll invite an expert to be able to answer your questions as well. Again, continue watching us. We are still live on Facebook at Farmers Media, on YouTube at Farmers Media, and make sure you click on our website at www.farmersmedia.com to ensure that you get to learn who we are, to ensure that you are in the right platform. So back to the business of the day. So we go on the ways of controlling soil erosion. So terracing. Terracing is one of the most effective ways of controlling erosion, especially on sloping lands, so that to construct, especially on sloping lands. So if you find that your land is very slopy, then it will be very good for you and very advisable for you to control terraces to prevent the spread of soil erosion. These are because terraces are like step-like structures built into the slope, breaking the hillside into smaller sections to slow down water runoff and create flat areas for farming. If you find that your area is very, very slopy, it is always good to ensure that you are building terraces, because these terraces have this ability to control the water intensity, to control the volume of the water, how the water moves. It will slow down the movement of water, and through this slowing down of the movement of water, you will find that the soil is being preserved. It is not carried away in large quantities. Even if it is carried away, it is limited in a way that the water is moving smoothly. It is carrying very little amount of soil. So through that, you can prevent soil erosion. And then we have cover cropping. Planting crops that provide a protective cover over the soil can help reduce the direct impact of rainfall and prevent soil particles from being washed away. Examples are like grasses, clover, or legumes. So legumes have very strong roots. They are able to hold the soil particles together in a way that they can't be carried away by the water. And when you plant cover crops like grasses, just like I said earlier, it will cover all over the land. Like there won't be any space for water to penetrate and carry away the soil, because the soil is covered by grass everywhere. So the more they want to carry the soil, the more the grass prevents the soil from being carried away to other parts. So it is very difficult for soil erosion to happen if you are planting cover crops. That is another way of preventing or controlling soil erosion. I think we can't prevent soil erosion. It is something that is natural, but we can control it. Again, we have contour farming. This involves plowing and planting crops in rows that run perpendicular to the slope. So, following the natural contours of the land. And again, this slows down water runoffs and prevent the formation of rails and gullies. So that is another type of contour farming. You ensure that you are planting your crops on a natural slopes, on the natural contours of the land, whereby the contours are formed naturally. You have not dug them, you have not done anything for them to be there. So you plant these in a way that they are perpendicular to the slope. So when they are in this way, then it will be very difficult for formation of gullies or the rills, because if you practice contour farming, that is another way of controlling soil erosion. And then we have grassed waterways. These are natural or constructed channels covered with grass. So they direct and carry off water from fields without causing soil erosion. So this is whereby the farmer is able to dig several grassed waterways. By digging these waterways, he or she will be able to plant grass in those waterways. So the moment the water comes towards your farm, these waterways, grassed waterways, will be able to carry this water to direct this water to other places instead of directing them to their farm. And through this, your topsoil won't be able to carry away, and also your soil won't lose fertility. And then we have planting of grass or ground cover. Just like I said, I've talked about planting of grass and or ground cover a lot, because it comes so many times until I feel like I should really insist for people to practice cover cropping, because it will prevent us from suffering from very many consequences, including the pollution of water sources, including the destruction of community property. So it will also help bind the soil together with their roots. So when you plant grass, we know grass spread very quickly, and also you can't count grass. Grass grow in very many places. They grow in large quantities. So the moment you plant this kind of grass, plant them in a way that they are near each other. Don't put the spacing, so that there won't be any chance of soil erosion occurrence. Then we have retaining walls. In steeper areas, constructing walls using stone, wood, or other materials can help hold the soil in place and prevent it from sliding downhill. Yeah, you can also retain plants, like you can also practice the formation of retaining walls, whereby you put the walls around your farm in a way that when water comes towards your farm, it will follow across those walls. So it will take like it will ignore your farm and then go to a wall. Like the water will pass. Like the water will pass past the wall without going into your farm and destroying your crops. And then there is riprap. This is like placing large stones of broken concrete that can help protect soil from erosion, especially in areas with high water runoff. I've seen this. I've seen a lot of people practicing this, of placing riprap, the huge stones or the cements. So they tend to take these large stones, especially in schools where the school is in a slopey area. So it will be during rainy seasons. It is very difficult for children to cross to go home. So you find that people are practicing these riprap measures, whereby they are taking huge stones or concentrated cement, and then they take it and put it in that place to redirect water to other places, and also to prevent the soil from being carried away further. Because the more they carry away the soil, the more the rails are forming, the more it becomes a gully. So, and when it becomes a gully, it will be very difficult, very difficult for children to cross, and also for other farmers to continue with their planting activities, and also it will slow down the infrastructure process, since for you to continue with the infrastructure, you must have filled these gullies. You must have to get rid of gullies before continuing with your farming activities. And then we have tree planting. Trees play a significant role in soil erosion, just like I said earlier. Their roots hold the soil together and provide a barrier against both wind and water erosion. So another one is with tree planting. I've talked about tree planting a lot. I also told you about following the footsteps of our late Professor Wangari Maathai, whereby she planted trees and left us with the knowledge of planting trees. She has done a lot to us as farmers, and that is another sign of a good leader. So why don't you just be a role model and plant trees in your farm or your place or anywhere? You know, people love seeing people doing other things, and when they see success in others, they tend to do the same. So when you plant a tree in your village, maybe your village doesn't practice tree planting. The only way is cutting trees. So make sure that you are planting at least, even if you say that I'll start with planting one tree. The moment a villager sees that your tree is growing and you are having a shed and everything else, he or she will be motivated to do the same. So the more you do that, the more you are motivating more and more people to plant trees. So I'll always encourage planting of trees to prevent soil erosion. And then we have mulching. This is applying a layer of organic or inorganic fertilizer or inorganic material, for example, like straw, leaves, or let's say pebbles on the soil surface. You apply on the soil surface, which can help prevent the direct impact of raindrops, reduce evaporation, and suppress weed growth. So the moment you practice mulching, you are preventing your soil from being affected by various negative things. First of all, you're preventing it from direct sunlight. When there is direct sunlight, it will deplete everything. There will be high evaporation. When direct sunlight hits your ground, there will be very fast process of evaporation because the water is absorbing that water from the plant. Hence, the plant will lack enough water for them. One advantage of mulching is you are preventing you are preventing evaporation. You are preventing your plants from lacking enough water. And another advantage of mulching is that you are also providing shade for useful microorganisms that are living in the soil. Through that, they won't be able to die out of direct sunlight. And then again, you are preventing yourself from soil erosion because when there is a heavy rainfall, the rain droplets won't be able to hit directly to your soil. Instead, they will hit on the mulching, the cover crops, the inorganic plants you have planted on their soil. May it be leaves, so they will hit directly on the leaves. And when they hit directly on the leaves, then there won't be soil erosion. So it is very good for you to practice mulching. And then another one is check dams. These are small barriers constructed across water channels on the slopes. So they slow down water flow, reduce its erosive potential, and promote sediment deposition. So check dams, you construct small barriers across the water channels or the slopes. So when you identify an area where there is a slope and the water channels pass through there, then you go and construct this check dam to prevent the water from continuing running and destroying even more property. Then we have aeration. Compacted soils can increase runoff. Periodic aeration, especially for lands with heavy traffic or machinery use, can improve water infiltration. So you also have to practice aeration. I've talked about that. So, and then you have rainwater harvesting. You can capture or store water or store rainwater at higher points on sloping lands because it can reduce the amount of water flowing over the slope, thus reducing soil erosion. So, when also harvest soil, you harvest the water, the rainwater, it will be very good for you as a farmer because first of all, you'll have to conserve water. You'll have to conserve water for your various activities. For later on, you won't know that water in the environment will be able to change. The weather will be able to change. So if the weather changes, maybe if the climate changes and it is drought time, you will have enough water for your plants because you are collecting the water during rainy seasons, and through that you'll be able to conserve water, and not only conserve water but also prevent soil erosion because you are reducing the amount of water, you are reducing the amount of droplets that are going to fall in your farm. So during the slopy land, you should also practice harvesting water so that you'll be able to get water, prevent your plants from soil erosion, or prevent the water runoff from happening. Even if it happens, it will happen in very small quantities. So the last one is diversion and drainage. Properly channeling water using diversions or drains can help control the direction and speed of water, preventing erosion. So you can channel water somewhere else. I've seen my father doing that with a djembe. There was a time the water used to fill in our farm. Like it comes and then goes straight flows straight into my father's farm. So when it flows into my father's farm, you find that the other plants are floating because the roots have already uprooted themselves due to the water digging in. You know, the water are like they are pulling the plants from the roots. They are eating away the roots of that plant. So we lost a lot of plants, and due to that, my father has to do some diversions and drainage, and we faced a lot of water pouring them outside our farm. That was not a good practice because we got very tired, really tired uh, trying to fetch water and then pouring them outside the farm. So my father came up with a solution whereby she identified the water source, where the source of water is coming from. She identified the place where the farm is receiving water from. So with that, she was able to control the water, to divert the water to another channel. So she channeled the water straight to the river to avoid the water from entering the farm. So with that, we were very safe. And so it is also important for you to divert the water. If you can't do anything about it, then find a way of diverting the water to other places. Not just places like your farm, your neighboring farms. No, divert it in a way that it won't affect anybody else. It won't affect the community or yourself. So adopting these practices requires an understanding of the local soil, climate, and vegetation characteristics. So it's always beneficial to combine multiple methods for optimal erosion control on sloping terrains. So make sure that you're practicing all these kind of controlling erosion, including terracing, cover cropping, contour farming, grassed waterways, planting grass or groundwater, plant retaining walls, riprap, tree planting, mulching, everything that I've said, including the diversion of water, diversion and drainage of water. So guys, again, this is a Farmers Media, where we connect, learn and grow. We are still live on Facebook at Farmers Media, on YouTube at Farmers Media. And make sure you click on our social media channel or our social media website at www.farmersmedia.com. And again, this is the mid-morning show where we connect, learn, and grow. Let's continue with soil conservation techniques. So we were talking about the measures control soil erosion, but now let's talk about soil conservation techniques. One of them is crop rotation. Regularly changing the type of crop grown on a piece of land help prevent the depletion of nutrients and breaks the life cycle of pests and diseases. Just like I said in other previous session, we have talked about soil erosion in various shows, in various segments. Even yesterday I was talking about soil erosion at some point. So soil erosion is crop rotation. So I'm confused between crop rotation and soil erosion because they are somehow familiar. So crop rotation is whereby you are exchanging crops from one field to another. You are rotating crops. Maybe you have legumes and wheat. You know, legumes don't consume, like they consume a lot of nitrogen. So when you exchange them with maize, then that nitrogen will be able again to be fixed again into the soil. So it is also good to practice crop rotation because it also breaks life cycles of the pests and diseases. Because when pests are used to one place, they are used to one plant, they live there, they hide there. But the moment you take the legumes from that piece of land and take them to the next piece of land and then introduce a new crop to that piece of land, then the pests and diseases will be able to die because they are not used to that kind of environment. Their cycle will immediately break because they will die. They won't be able to continue supplying because their source of food was taken somewhere else. So there will be very minimal chances of them continuing surviving in that area. And then we have conservation tillage. These involve minimal soil disturbance. No till or reduced till methods leave crop residues on the field after harvest, which provides cover and organic matter to the soil, reducing soil erosion, hence enhancing soil structure. So there is also conservation tillage. You can practice that. That's another technique. And then we have contour plowing. As mentioned earlier, these involve plowing across the contour of the land rather than up and down the slope, because it reduces water runoff and soil erosion. So I have talked about contour plowing, and I guess I won't repeat that because I know you guys have already gotten that. And then we have agroforestry. This is integrating trees, shrubs, and crops on the same piece of land, and can provide soil cover, improve soil organic matter, and reduce wind and water erosion. So agroforestry is another technique of preventing soil erosion. I always say that agroforestry is the planting of trees, rearing of animals, and practicing any other type of farming in one piece of land. So with that, you can mutually benefit the animals and the trees can mutually benefit from each other. In return, the trees will provide shade for animals, animals will provide fertilizers for the trees, and also trees will provide food for the animals. So through that, they can mutually benefit from each other, and also the farmer will be able to prevent soil erosion, since there are trees in that piece of land. With trees, the rain droplets will be prevented from dropping directly to the soil surface because the leaves of the plants are wider. Sometimes other farmers prefer to plant a lot of trees in a way that the trees are forming a canopy. And through that canopy, of course, there are disadvantages of that and also there are advantages. But I'll dwell on the advantages because of the soil erosion topic. So when these trees form a canopy and the rain falls heavily, they are able to prevent the rain droplets from falling directly into the soil. So that prevents the spread of soil erosion. And then you have cover crops. I've talked about cover crops such as grass. You can plant other type of maybe you say alfalfa, any type of thing that can prevent soil erosion. So cover crops, I've talked about cover crops. And then we have grassed waterways. I've also talked about grass waterways, whereby you are using grass to stabilize areas where water concentrates, prevents soil erosion, and helps in directing water without causing soil loss. I've talked about that. Then we have windbreaks or shelter belts. These are preventing wind erosion mostly because the more you plant these, you plant the rows of trees or shrubs, it reduces the wind speed, and also it can significantly reduce the wind erosion because when you plant trees, they are able to prevent the wind from moving very fast because they are like obstacles. You see, you can also observe that. You can do that as an experiment. Maybe do that, and then you tell us in the next session how you felt. So with this, this is whereby when you plant trees, you plant them in a way that they are preventing your crops from facing the wind. So when the wind blows very hard, with a force, like there is a wind that hits very deep. So when the wind blows, it will be prevented from carrying away the soil, first of all, because the trees act as the obstacles. And then you have mulching. I've said about that, applying a protective layer of organic, can be straw, chips, or the wood. So it can be also plastic materials on the soil surface, which conserves moisture, reduces the chances of other harmful organisms from living. So I've said about using mulching. Now let's go to living barriers. This is whereby you are planting rows of dense vegetation like grasses or shrubs, which can break the force of water and trap sediments, slowing erosion. So living barriers, I've talked about planting grass. If you plant grass, then they can they can act as a barrier and prevent water from spreading to other parts of the area. And then we have strip farming, growing crops in strips alternated with strips of close growing crop like grass. Yesterday I was talking about strip farming. Strip farming, most farmers practice strip farming with the use of electric fences, whereby they are identifying a strip of land, a very tiny strip of land, and after they identify that land, they are planting different types of vegetables or different types of grasses that the animals are going to eat. Maybe during they practice the roads, Ruboma road hay, they are planting that in that piece of land. So they plant them in strips, so that when animals come to this strip, they eat this strip, and then when they are done eating that, they are being transferred to another strip, and then the other. By the time they come back to the first strip has already matured. It has already matured, ready to be fed by the animals again when they are very fresh. So strip farming is also nice because the plants are able to alternate. The plants and the animals are able to alternate because when the plants grow, the animals are feeding on the other, and when they feed on this, the other are growing. So through this, they are conserving soil because first of all, there is no overgrazing. The grass are growing continuously, so there will be low chance of soil erosion. And then there is subsoiling. This is where breaking up hard pans or compacted layers beneath the soil surface can improve water infiltration and root penetration, reducing water runoff. So you can break the hard pans or compacted layers beneath the soil surface. You find that when you dig your soil, when you practice, when it is time for you to dig your farm or to plow your farm, there are other soil particles that are compacted. It is very hard for you to break them. So ensure that you are breaking these compacted particles to ensure that there are no spaces between the soil particles that can allow water to carry away the soil. So it is very crucial for you to do that. Make sure that you always break the soil particles in your field. If you find that there are other soil particles very big enough in an extent that it is blocking a lot of stuff from happening in your farm, for example, the water from flowing or destroying the systems, make sure that you are breaking that soil in a small pieces. And then we have check dams and silt ponds, temporary structures built across drainage pathways to slow down water, allowing sediments to settle rather than being carried away. So I think that is straight. And then we have rain gardens. These are depressions planted with native plants that collect rainwater and allow it to infiltrate into the ground, reducing runoff. So there are rain gardens. These can be planted with native plants. So this also prevents soil erosion. So guys, we have talked a lot about soil erosion, but we are still live on Facebook at the Farmers Media or YouTube at Farmers Media. Again, this is the Farmers Media where you connect, learn, and grow. Guys, we are going to erosion control mats and blankets, but before we go into that, or before we delve into that, guys, continue sending in your comments, continue sending in your questions. I'll take a short break, and after I come back, we'll be able to talk about erosion control mats and blankets. Stay tuned.
Drip irrigation is a type of micro-irrigation system that has potential to save water and nutrients by allowing water to drip slowly to the roots of the plants, either from above the soil surface or buried below the surface. The goal is to place water directly into the root zone and minimize evaporation. This system is very efficient because it delivers water directly to the plant roots, reducing water waste. It's often used in arid regions or during periods of water shortage, but it's also used in more temperate climates for its efficient and conservation benefits. Common uses include vegetable gardens, flower beds, trees, shrubs, and agroforests. It can be set up for both small-scale home gardens and large-scale agricultural operations. The system requires a water source, a method to distribute the water, usually tubes and hoses, and emitters which control the amount of water delivered.
Welcome back, my dear viewers. Thank you for continuing watching this live. I know you're still learning a lot from this live. Continue sending in your questions and comments. We are still live on YouTube at Farmers Media. We are still live on Facebook at Farmers Media. And make sure you click on our website at www.afarmersmedia.com. Again, this is Farmers Media where we connect, learn, and grow. We were continuing about the soil erosion mechanisms. So one of them is splash erosion. This is whereby raindrops dislodge soil particles, which can then be transported by water or wind. This is the initial stage of erosion caused by water. So splash erosion is the initial stage of erosion. This is where the erosion now starts, where you know that erosion is happening. This is a splash erosion. When the water splash into the ground, the soil particles are able to jump up, like it's in a jump, and then in no time they are being carried away because it has formed small walls, and those walls are filled, those holes are filled with water, and they are being carried away to various processes. Another one is saltation. In areas of wind erosion, some particles are lifted into the air, travel a short distance, then land, splashing smaller particles into the air. That is what I just said right now. Saltation is like splash erosion, whereby after splash erosion happens, these particles are carried away by the air. The wind is able to sweep away these particles and move them to another place. So that is saltation. And then we have suspension. Fine soil particles are lifted into the air by the wind or water and can be carried over long distances. So suspension, through suspension, soil particles are able to be transferred to different places, even the unnecessary places that doesn't require soil. So that is another mechanism. So now, what are the consequences of soil erosion? I've talked about soil erosion a lot, and now I'm going to tell you about the consequences of soil erosion. If you are a lazy farmer, someone who is ignorant about what is really happening, someone who saws the aerials in his farm and the gullies starting forming and ignoring, these are the consequences of that. One of them is loss of arable land. Soil erosion can reduce the amount of land available for agriculture, first of all, due to formation of gullies. When these gullies form in various parts of the land, when they form in various parts of that village or in various parts of that rural area, it will be difficult for farmers who are interested in farming to even own more lands for agricultural purposes, because the more these gullies form, the more land it eats, the more scarcity of land. So there will be arable land, there will be loss of arable land because of these gullies. You won't tell me that you are going to plant your crops inside the gullies, because you will be doing nothing. Like it will be like you are just disturbing yourself, you are wasting your time there. So you can't tell me that you are going to plant these in gullies. So if you are a farmer, make sure you are controlling these gullies. At least we want to produce sustainable food for generation, for many other generations, for our children, for this economy. We know that economy is not good right now, and we really need these lands. We need arable lands for us to continue with farming activities, we need to have large lands, huge lands, for us to produce even more food to sustain us for a while. So one consequences of soil erosion is that loss of arable land. Another consequence is water pollution. We know that as soil erodes, it can carry with it pollutants like pesticides, leading to water pollution. So when these pesticides land into the water sources, people are consuming this water, and a lot of people tend to suffer from waterborne diseases. You suffer from typhoid, you have to go to the hospital, you use a lot of money in the hospital. So when you use money in the hospital, you will lose a lot as a farmer, because instead of using that money into other farming practices, into buying machinery for your farm, you use it for buying medicine. So for you to control water pollution, you must have practice mulching or any other way of controlling soil erosion, or building of gabions to prevent the gullies, so that when the gullies form in your farm and the water runoffs happen, it takes all the pesticides, all the chemicals you applied in your farm, including the chemical fertilizers you applied, to the river sources. And when that happens, you will also suffer, because you are drinking water from that river. You are utilizing that water. Your plants are still consuming that water, so it will be very bad for you. And then, so that is another consequence. Another is the reduced soil fertility. Of course, when soil erosion happens, it carries the topsoil that is fertile. Mostly, the topsoil is very fertile compared to the soil that is inside, because the topsoil, you have carried all the necessary requirements for soil testing in that soil. You have ensured that there is fertilizer in that soil. You have ensured that there is manure. You can't tell me that you dug deep into the soil and placed manure inside that soil. You can't tell me that, because that is impossible. You can't tell me that you've dug all of that area and put fertilizer inside that soil and then cover it again. No. You always concentrate on the depth of the plant's roots. So after you plant that, then the soil erosion happens, it will wipe away everything that is in that soil. So the top layer of the soil, which is the most fertile and rich in organic matter, is usually first to be eroded. So that is another consequences. There will be reduced soil fertility, and we need fertile lands for our produce to be nice, for us to produce even higher yields. We need to have fertile lands. And then there is alteration of ecosystems, whereby erosion can disrupt habitats and biodiversity. As I said earlier, there are very, very many living, microorganisms living into the soil. There are ecosystems in the soil. So when you allow erosion to happen, then there will be destruction of habitats for these organisms. And you are depending on these organisms for them to cause decomposition to occur, so that your plants will get nutrients. So if you don't want your plants to suffer these kind of things, if you want to produce enough yield, if you want to produce good quality products, then you have to ensure that there is no soil erosion that is carrying away this kind of beneficial organisms from the soil. Another one is economic impact. Reduced agricultural productivity can result in economic losses for farmers and community. So again, when you let soil erosion take over, it will continue constructing gullies in various parts of the land. And when that happens, it will be very difficult for farmers to construct their farm, to plant their crops, and that can lead to economic impact. People will lack money. For example, the farmers, they depend on their crops for money. All their family is depending on that farming activity for them to buy their daily needs. So it will be very hard for a farmer to provide for his or her family if soil erosion has affected his farm. And then you have factors that contribute to soil erosion. One of them is deforestation. Just like I said earlier, it is the cutting down of trees without replacing them. So trees and forests as buffers to control soil erosion. They are preventing soil erosion from happening at all costs. So removing them will accelerate the erosion process. So if you remove them, then it will be very easier for erosion process to take place. There will be a high acceleration of soil erosion. And then there is unsustainable agriculture. Practices like monocropping and overgrazing can increase soil vulnerability and erosion. So Make sure that you are also not practicing monocropping, that is planting of one single crop each and every year. You just plant this year, I'm planting maize, next year planting maize, another year, next year but one I'm planting maize. That will be very bad because there will be soil erosion because you're practicing monocropping. So make sure that you have that practice of maybe rotational grazing or maybe crop rotation. So through that, you'll be able to preserve your soil health and also prevent soil erosion. Then there is urbanization. Construction activities and impervious surfaces can increase water runoff. That is straight to the point. So we have climate change. Changes in rainfall patterns and intensity can lead to increased erosion in certain areas. So we all know that we come from different areas, different places that contains different type of soil. For example, I come from Samburu County. So the climate change between Samburu County, or let's say the weather pattern between Samburu County and Nairobi or Kitengela are very different. You can't tell me that you can compare both of them and tell me that today it will rain in Kitengela and also it will also rain in Samburu. No, that never happens. So changes in rainfall patterns and intensity can lead to increased erosion in certain areas. Areas like Samburu, so it will be very difficult for farmers. And then there is additional control measures. One of them is afforestation. Planting trees on deforested land can help stabilize soil. If you notice that there are no trees anywhere around where you are living, then try to plant some of the trees there to prevent further destruction of soil health and also further destruction of houses. Lack of trees also causes floods because a lot of houses are destroyed because there are no buffers that are controlling water. And then there is buffer strips. Strips of grass or other vegetation can be planted between crops to reduce soil erosion. So between crops, you can plant other decorated plants that can hold the soil particles together and prevent soil erosion. And then there is land zoning, that is designating specific zones for agriculture, forestry, and construction can help manage and reduce soil erosion. So you can also do land zoning, and then there is porous pavements and sustainable agriculture. Yeah, I've talked about sustainable agriculture. So what are the impacts and safety? One of them is landslides. Soil erosion on sloping lands can weaken the base of slopes, leading to landslide that can damage infrastructure, pose safety threats. That's why we always hear accidents commonly happening in landslides, because sometimes a vehicle reaches there and loses control. It kills a lot of people, and that is not a good thing. So poor infrastructure due to landslides, this can affect the people at large, not only farmers but everybody else. So it is also good that you still practice soil erosion. And then there is infrastructure damage, that is roads, bridges, and buildings can also be compromised by soil erosion. And then we have siltation of water bodies. Erosion can lead to an increased sediment load in rivers and streams, which can cause siltation of water bodies, reducing their water holding capacity and potentially leading to flooding. So siltation of water bodies, you find that through this water runoff, they are able to take all these, everything that is on the land and take it to the water bodies. And through that, you find that there are metals there is a lot of stuff inside that running water. Of course, you all know that. And there are chemicals, plastics, everything. You find that when this water, for example, goes to the water bodies that fish are present in, it will harm the aquatic life because the fish swallow a lot of them. You find that they swallow these small metal materials. So when they swallow, it hooks them in a way that it kills them. It blocks their respiratory tracts, hence allowing them to suffocate in water. You find that fish is floating all over. This is because the water that was deposited there contained some materials that was very dangerous to the fish. The materials such as the chemicals that harmed the fish, it coated the upper layer of the water, preventing the penetration of oxygen into the water bodies. And then there is now let's go to our last Our last topic, we go to social economic impacts. One of them is displacement. Severe soil erosion can render land unusable. So, if there is severe land erosion as have happened in that area, of course, there will be a large formation of gullies. There will be many gullies, and as a result of that, you won't be able to stay in that land. You won't be able to stay in a land where it is very dangerous for you as a farmer, where it will be very dangerous for you in terms of losses, because you will experience a lot of losses because gullies are directing water directly to your plant, then destroying the topsoil of your plant and carrying away your plants. So through that, you as a farmer won't be able to tolerate that kind of an environment, and as a result, you will move from that place and go to other place. So that has been that can be a displacement. You won't be able to start in that land. So another one is loss of livelihood. Many people depend on the land for their livelihood. So soil erosion can reduce to agricultural yields, affecting farmers and the larger community. As I said earlier, there are other communities that are mainly depending on farming activities. If anything happened to that farming activity, then it will be very difficult for them to pick up from where they left and also to continue with their farming businesses. And then there is increased cost. Governments and communities may have to bear significant cost for erosion control. It will be very difficult for the government at large and also for other people and other farmers to control soil erosion. So for them to control this, they will have to experience significant losses because first of all, they have to buy gabions to prevent gully erosion from happening. They have to construct these roads, to construct them over and over again. And through that, first of all, they are wasting their time, and again, they are wasting resources, and again, they are doing that as a result of just the willingness to do that, but it is affecting them in a very bad way. So the biological impact is loss of habitat. Just like I said, they are important organisms that are living in the soil. And if anything like that happens, like soil erosion, then it will be difficult for those people to maintain those. I just call organisms people. So it will be very difficult for those organisms living in the soil that are very important to your plant to continue living there because there has been destruction of their habitats. So your plants will lack enough nutrients. And then there is changes in aquatic ecosystem. Increased sedimentation can affect aquatic ecosystem, harming species that rely on clear water and altering the natural balance. Just like I said that some water is very greasy, and through these water runoffs, they are able to cover the soils. The greasy water covers the water surface. And when they cover the water surface, there is no oxygen that is penetrating into the soil. You find that the frogs are dying, everything inside that water is dying. This is due to soil erosion. So it is very important for us to ensure that we are observing our farms. We are trying to monitor it regularly, even if it's not every day, for you to identify if there is any reel forming, if there is any gully forming, so that you'll be able to prevent it, because I always believe that prevention is better than cure, and I always tell people that it is very good for you and it is very crucial for you to prevent yourself instead of saying, I'll do just that. I'll go to the hospital. Like when I tell you that you should wear a sweater to prevent yourself from getting pneumonia, and you say that no, I have money, I'll go to the hospital. It is not always a good choice to say that. Just to prevent yourself from such circumstances. Prevent yourself from rails. If you identify rail, do something very fast to prevent it from spreading and enlarging to become a gully. Guys, we have come to the end of our session today, but before I finish, I would like to thank our director, Dotrin, I'd like to thank my director, Dottie, for directing this show, and my producer, Mary, for producing this program, and yeah, they have done a really good job, and I really commend them for that. And as for today, continue tuning in, continue watching the rest of the shows that will happen in the course of the day. There will be a farm drive with Boss Queen and Duncan, but I bet it will be Duncan. So make sure that you're watching that show. You'll be able to tune in and watch that, because it will be a very amazing show. It will be an educative and interactive session where you will learn a lot from them. But before again I finish, we are also wise people. We must always finish with something to educate the farmers more. But today, let me be a pastor for a little bit. The proverb of the day comes from the book of Proverbs. So it says, a little slumber, a little folding of hands to rest. Poverty shall come to you like a vagabond, and harm you like an armed man. So I'll repeat: a little slumber, a little folding of hands to rest. Poverty shall come to you like a vagabond, and arm you like an armed man. So what does that proverb mean? It means that it is not always good for you as a farmer to just stay and watch things as they happen. So that's a little slumber. Don't slumber in your work. Don't say that I'm going to rest a little and then I'm going to do the rest of the work for the rest of the day. No, don't. That little rest can make you slumber for a while. So don't fold your hands and say that I'm resting for like 5 minutes and then I'll go back. Finish your work first and then rest. So that poverty should not come to you if you are not slumbering like armed men. Armed men come to you like when someone is not ready of what is happening. So make sure that this proverb gets into your skull. So I'll repeat again: a little slumber, a little folding of hands to rest. Poverty shall come to you like a vagabond, and arm you like an armed man. So make sure you identify these signs of soil erosion very early enough. So guys, we have come to the end of our session. Again, continue watching us for the rest of the shows, and make sure you follow us on our social media accounts at Farmers Media on YouTube, at Farmers Media on Facebook, and click on our website at www.farmersmedia.com. Again, I've been your host, Regina Ayanai. Have a lovely day.